Hi everyone. I hope that you're doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Shikha and I welcome you to my channel. As always, I'm so grateful that you're listening, subscribing, and commenting. I really appreciate the support. And if you're interested in supporting me further, you can do that by going to my Patreon or Ko-fi link. They're both in the description below. In this one, I wanted to speak to you guys about something that I've been kind of dealing with a lot more ever since I've been living or staying with my parents for the past few months. And this is something that I notice now just because I've had the time to notice it. I'm sure I did this all throughout my life, being an INFJ and wanting harmony in my relationships. I always tended to do this, but now I've noticed myself doing it and I realize I don't need to do it anymore because I'm old enough to know better. And there's no real purpose or meaning to it, actually. So, the thing that I'm talking about is a lot of INFJs, maybe people in general, but mainly INFJs a lot, because we have this desire, this incessant desire, this impulsive desire to keep harmony with all of our relationships, so much so that we'll sacrifice our own health to keep that harmony. Because we have this desire to keep that harmony, we will keep our mouth shut in a lot of cases when we actually should be speaking up for ourselves or speaking up in general. Now, I know, like, you're probably thinking, sitting there thinking, a lot of times it's not necessary to speak up and, it's actually better to keep your mouth shut because then the person doesn't, you don't actually instigate them or they don't, talk about things that are triggering for them and then you're able to maintain harmony in your relationship. And I used to think that way for the longest time, especially with my parents, because there is a lot of stuff, especially in family, that triggers each other, right? It's just the way it is. That's why it's so important, and that's why a lot of gurus tell us, spiritual gurus tell us that you should spend time with your family, or it's a good idea to spend time with relatives because it will bring up a lot of stuff for you. And it's easy to be a monk when you are by yourself, in the caves, but when you are with family, it's very difficult to be that spiritual being that you want to be, right? That you aspire to be. And I notice myself, when I'm by myself in Chiang Mai, it's very easy for me to be calm all the time. And when I'm here, a lot of my stuff comes up all the time. But instead of, usually in the past, as I said, instead of actually saying or speaking up when something my parents say triggers me or I don't like it or it's something that I don't want them to keep on repeating over and over again because parents have a tendency to do that. They say the same thing over and over again, even if it's causing you pain or causing you to feel anger. So instead of telling them right away, straight away, I'm sorry, but I don't like that. Please don't do it anymore, which is a very simple way of saying it. And you're not being rude about it. You're not being cruel about it. You're just expressing your feelings and needs. But for us as an INFJ, it's such a difficult thing to do. Even the thought of expressing our needs and desires it's a foreign concept to us. It's a foreign concept to me. And I'm just learning this process in my 30s and just learning this process with my parents. Usually with other people, I'm very good at expressing my needs, but with my family, I sometimes have this desire to be like, oh, well, maybe they won't understand, or maybe they won't get it, or maybe they'll judge me, or maybe whatever. And then I have a tendency not to say things out loud, even though I'm thinking them in my head, or wishing that I could say those things, right? So I used to imagine, as I said, that it would cause disharmony in my relationship if I spoke up. But recently, as I said, I've been trying something new and, I'm here anyways. And I'm like, well, I'm here, so let's try out some experiments with our relationship. Because there's nowhere else for people to go. It's not like they can be like, well, I'm going to kick you out or, I'm going to leave or something like that. We have to sit and resolve our issues. So it's a good time, for me at least, I think it's a good time to actually think about all these issues and then kind of resolve them with your family or relatives or partner. And so one of the things my mother always says that irks me is that, I'm so similar to my father and in a negative way, right? I am similar to my father and mother in many different ways, but she only talks about the negative aspect of it. And I've said this to her before, I don't like it. But usually what I would end up doing in the past when I would tell her that please don't say that is I wouldn't say please don't say that. I would start getting angry, I'd start yelling, and I'd start saying things about her, insulting her, bringing up stuff that I don't like about her. When it's not about her, it's about me. And things like that. I was doing it in a fashion where it was very aggressive, basically blowing up on her or getting and exploding upon her because I wasn't able to control my anger or because I wasn't able to have a proper conversation about it because I wasn't sure how to go about it because I had no practice with it, right? I don't have any practice with having normal, conversations with my family about things that are important. Because in general, as I said, INFJs don't have practice with that. We are the kind of people who will just keep our mouths shut and keep all those emotions and feelings inside of us until one day we blow up. I don't want to blow up anymore. It takes a lot of energy out of me. It's very exhausting. I don't want to do that to myself or to anyone else. And so I'm trying very much, if I don't like something in the moment, I'm trying to say it out loud. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but at least it's a practice and it is a work in progress. And I know I'll keep on getting better just because I'm trying at it. But not trying at it at all and just letting it happen as it happens is the worst strategy for me, at least. It does not work for me. It does not work for my relationships. It does not work for my relatives either. And so as I said, this time around, I was like, Mom, I don't like it when you say that. I've said this to you before. I don't like it. Please don't say it again. There are many ways in which I'm similar to you in a good way and similar to Dad in a good way. Please, why do you always bring up the negative stuff? I don't like it. Yeah. So I did said it in that way. And she saw, I mean, usually, as I said, I would say it with force and I'd get angry. I was a little bit angry this time around as well, but I tried to stay as calm as possible. And for the first time, she's like, all right, cool. I'm not going to say that anymore. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to trigger you. Or I didn't mean to anger you. I know you've said this before. I'm not going to do it anymore. And that was it. That was the end of it. And that was when the conversation ended. And for me, it was a huge revelation because I'm standing there thinking or waiting for something else to happen, for her to blow up, for me to blow up, or for the conversation to go off the rails, or for us to have a huge fight about it, or, for a lot of energy to be expended and, my whole day wasted. But nothing like that happened. I had that conversation. I said something, she said something, and that was the end of it. And then I brought up something else and we started talking about food or something else. And it was as if it didn't even happen. And that was so powerful for me because basically I had let that go. I mean, I talked to her about it. I talked to her about it. She talked to me about it. And then we let it go and we weren't holding on to it so that we weren't getting angry with each other about other issues. And even now, that issue's gone. It hasn't been brought up again. It's been weeks later. And we're able to have a normal conversation. We're not fighting with each other over the same thing over and over and over again. The problem with holding things in, one of the main problems, there's so many problems with it, is not only are you making yourself sick because of it, because you're holding on to all these negative emotions and not letting them go, but also that it erodes your relationship. Basically, it chips away at your relationship, at your trust with each other, at your love for each other, at your, just in general, your relationship corrodes because of that negative influence. And it does that in the background. You don't actually even notice it. It actually happens in the background. And all of a sudden, one day, you're strangers to each other and you don't like each other and you break up. Now, of course, in a partnership, this is very common. It happens all the time because people don't actually talk about things that are important to them. And I do that all the time, too. I don't talk about the things that are important to me, but I imagine or assume that the person should guess what I want. They don't guess what I want. And then I hate them for it or have negative feelings for them, against them for it. And then that keeps on corroding our relationship in the background until one day there is no relationship anymore. It's gone. It's completely gone. That connection that we had becomes more and more tenuous until it doesn't even exist anymore. And that's in a partnership. In a relationship with a family member, sometimes you can't let them go. You can't be like, all right, our relationship is done. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. With my parents, I don't want to do that. I never, ever want to have that feeling where, oh, I wish I had never cut off my relationship with them. Things like that. I love them and I want them in my life for as long as possible. That means that if I don't want our relationship to be corroded, that I need to talk about these things. Because as soon as you bring them out in the open, they dissipate. It's like they don't have any power anymore. They're not those big bad monsters anymore. They can't hurt you anymore. And they're gone. And it's as if it didn't even exist anymore, right? Now, a lot of us, as I said, as INFJs, we're thinking that it's actually a better idea to maintain the harmony. In fact, that actually does not help, but it actually hurts our relationships with people. And that's one of the main reasons I believe a lot of my relationships failed, not only partnerships, but friendships and even relationships with relatives, is because I didn't bring up issues that I cared about. Not in a negative way, not in a way where I'm fighting with them, not in a way where I'm accusing them or berating them or putting them down, but in a way where I am expressing my needs and desires. I don't like that. Can you please stop doing that? Or why do you do that? Or what is this about? Can you tell me because I don't like it? Or however it is, but expressing it in a way where it's about you, it's about your need, it's about something to do with you, not about them, not about the environment, not about the government. It's about you, right? You're kind of expressing your need in the situation. I know it can be sometimes impossible for INFJs to do this, but it's so important if you want your relationships to get stronger and stronger. And this is one of the main things that I've noticed for myself, at least, that has made my relationships with everyone around me stronger and stronger, is my willingness to express my needs and desires and tell the people around me in a neutral fashion as much as possible, because we're not accusing anyone or telling them they're terrible people. We're just telling them what we need. And as long as possible, if you can do it in a neutral fashion, it helps a lot and it makes your relationship stronger and better. And if you can just do that, it's something that's very hard for us to do. It's almost impossible. I'm 37 almost. In August, I'll turn 37. And I'm still having a hard time with this. So you can imagine how difficult it is. And I've been working on myself for so long. So I really wanted to share this with you because not only am I a work in progress, but you are as well. And this is something that can really improve our quality of life in general as an INFJ, because the relationships around us will improve immensely if we can just do this one thing, which is expressing our needs and desires in a neutral fashion outwardly. Not keeping it to ourselves, not pretending like that person can guess it or should intuit it. They won't. You have to tell them directly what you're thinking and what you want from them. That's the only way that the relationship is going to progress, and that's the only way that the relationship is going to get stronger. Again, I hope this makes sense. If you have questions about this, comment below and I shall do a further video on it. If you have experience with this, obviously share your stories with us. And I shall see you guys the next time around. Bye for now.